Here are the rankings for the food and drinks I had while visiting Epcot during their Flower and Garden Festival. Starting off in China, the first thing we ordered was the chicken skewer, which honestly was not that good because it was just covered in this peanut sauce, which was way too strong, and I am not
If
a
they
huge
had
fan
been
of peanuts, just chicken, it
So,
probably would have been better,
just-
but because it was
way
just
too overwhelming
such
with
a
the taste
strong taste,
of
I'm giving
peanuts.
this a
If
pretty
they had
low
been
2 out of 10.
just
chicken is wontons,
Which,
this was also really
honestly,
good.
I
Calling
will
them
give it a
dumplings, but they're
7 out of
called
10.
wontons. This amazingly delicious crab rangoon, which was probably by far the best thing I had my whole time at Epcot during the festival. I'm a huge fan of seafood, and
I'm a
this was
huge fan of seafood.
amazing
and
dish.
This was
So I'm giving it
amazing dish.
so I'm giving
very
it
solid
10 out of 10.
Very
And last for the China kitchen was the boba tea, and the tea was mango flavored, which is really great because I like mangoes, but not like
the
love 'em.
bobas. It was not
So if
the
it's an overwhelming taste of mango,
liquid-filled
I'm not a huge
bobas
fan. But
that,
this was just
like
the right
explode
amount.
as soon as like
The
they touch your
problem
mouth
came
and stuff like
to
that. These
the
were like
bobas.
the
It was
chewy
not
gum
the
ones, which
liquid-filled
I'm
okay
bobas
with.
that
Not a huge
like
fan
explode
of,
as soon as like they
because it
touch
was
your mouth.
the
and
mango
stuff like
juice
that.
was
These
so
were
good.
like the chewy
I'm going to
gum
give
ones,
the boba
which
tea a 7
I'm
out of
okay
10.
with.
In the Odyssey, which is not too far from Test Track, for
We
those of you
had
who
this
don't know where the
shrimp,
Odyssey is,
which
we had this
was
shrimp, which
okay,
you know, it was not like the best shrimp I
okay,
had.
you know, it was not.
So I'm gonna give
not
it
like the
a
best
5
shrimp I
out of
had.
10. So I'm gonna, along with the shrimp, we bought an orange smoothie because it's
And this
Florida,
does come
obviously.
in the
orange
there had to be
bird
something
orange flavored
cup.
and this does come
But
in the
it's
orange
cheaper if you
bird
ask
for it
cup,
without the cup, which is
but
what we
it's
did.
cheaper if
And
you ask
honestly, that's good
for it
because
without the cup.
which is what we did.
Orange
And
smoothie
honestly, that's good
was
because
just like more of a milkshake. It's just
the
way too sweet.
orange smoothie
And
was
just
it
like
reminds
more
me
of a
of
milkshake.
sugar
it's just way too
and
sweet.
orange together.
And
So it wasn't my favorite,
it-
but
yeah, it
since I like
reminds me of
oranges, I'm gonna give it
sugar
a 5 out of 10.
and orange
But
together.
I probably
So
it
it
wasn't
wasn't
my favorite. But closer to Test Track, there was some seared scallops, which I love scallops, so this was really nice. So I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. What kind of brought it down is the tomato underneath. I'm not a huge fan of like the tomato taste. And also they only give you 2 scallops. If they gave you more scallops, now that would definitely bump it up. But I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10 because the seared scallops are just amazing in general. We bought this corn, corn on a cob, but they sprinkle it in, I believe it was cheese. And yeah, the seasoning, the cheese is just not as good for us. We did not like it, so we're gonna give it a 4 out of 10. And its only saving grace is if you could scrape off the seasoning, it was just like regular corn on the cob. Then there were these lovely cinnamon roll bites. I love cinnamon rolls, so I just had to try this, and it was amazing. It just tasted great. It was warm. There was lots of cinnamon. There was a good amount of icing. It was really nice, so it's a solid 9 out of 10. Now, what was surprising is we found another station serving scallops, and these weren't as good as the previous scallops. They were still pretty good. I mean, they are scallops. So I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10, slightly lower than the seared scallops, but it was still pretty good. I did not like the beef tenderloin. I definitely did not like it. It was like way too mushroomy for me, and the sauce, I didn't like it. The beef obviously was really good, but the sauce is what brought it down for me. So I'm giving it a 4 out of 10. But I will note that the rest of my family who tried this would like me to add that they love this dish and they want to give it an 8 out of 10, just so you have two opinions here. So mine, 4 out of 10, my family's 8 out of 10. I went to try this cheesecake because it had a funny name and it said liquid nitrogen, and I honestly thought it was a drink, like some sports drink that was like filled with liquid nitrogen, but it wasn't. It was actually a cheesecake, and it was an amazing cheesecake. It was so good. They gave you even like a little flour, and the flour is edible. I don't remember the name of the flour, but it was a really nice cheesecake, so I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10 just because it was so great. I was really excited for this one, and it was this moose terrarium, and it looked so cool in the pictures when I was making this list of food to try, and it had a flower on it, and I was so excited because I wanted to try this flower. Although when I ordered it, the flower had disappeared, and it was just the green, like, cookie crumble or graham cracker crumble on top to look like the grass, and the flowers had totally disappeared, which was a bummer because that kind of took away the idea of it being a terrarium. But you know, I like the whole mousse pudding thing, and it was pretty good, so I'm going to give a 7 out of 10. It would have been higher if I had the little flower, but you know, it's still a really great dish. I did have high hopes for this since I am, like I said, a huge fan of seafood and I love sushi. So when we got to the Japan pavilion, I went and ordered the frushi. And if you can't tell, the frushi is actually sushi made from fruit. And I thought, oh, that's really cool. That'll be very interesting to try out. But the problem is they didn't replace the rice with some sort of fruit. I thought I was just going to be biting into something that was kind of like a fruit salad in a way. But it was actually fruit wrapped in rice, and there wasn't that much fruit. So when you bit into it, you tasted rice, and it was strawberry and pineapple. And that was a terrible mix of textures and tastes for me, and I took one bite and didn't touch it again, which was really disappointing. I mean, I actually ended up opening up the little roll and just eating the fruit and not touching the rice, because rice and fruit just doesn't mix really well. It was a really cool idea, but ultimately it did not live up to the idea, but the taste anyways. So this was probably the worst thing I tried, and with a 1 out of 10 rating, it was just as bad, if not worse, than the chicken skewer. And finally, the last thing I had while at Epcot was this lemonade along with the frushi, which the lemonade was great because I honestly needed to wash down that frushi and ignore the weird textures. But the lemonade, was really good. So I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. Thank you so much for watching the video, and I hope this helped you out a bit if you are going to go to Epcot during the Flower and Garden Festival